You're listening to the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. Be sure to follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find out more about Dr. Michelle at drmichellewatson.com. That's drmichellewatson.com. Here now is your host, Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the Dad Whisperer, and I'm so glad you're joining me again today. I'm telling you, every day here at the Dad Whisperer, my goal, my heart, my passion is to equip you as dads in this generation to raise up empowered, healthy daughters who are going to be world changers. Do I hear an amen? Well, you know that every week I use the grid on your mark, get set, go. But surprise, today I am not going to use that grid because we have the privilege of hearing from an icon. And this man is someone that we would all be wise to listen to the stories of. I want you to imagine yourselves, dads, just sitting around the room in couches. We're all comfortable. I'm right there with you. We're putting our feet up, drinking some coffee, drinking some tea, drinking a Diet Coke. That would be my preference. And we have the privilege of listening to Pat Boone. There's no one like him who literally knows how to tell stories. I don't know many that have such a rich wealth of knowledge in raising 4 girls. So today I'm going to be playing an interview that I did with Pat Boone at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Dallas, Texas here recently. And I had the privilege of just asking him what it's like to have raised 4 daughters. And he is a storyteller par excellence. There is so much that we're going to hear from him today that I would tell you is not the fathering of this generation. So I am hopeful that by hearing from a wise, seasoned, expert father, that we can all take away something that will make a difference in the way that you father your daughters. Let me tell you a little bit about Pat Boone, just in case he's someone that you don't really know. He's an American singer, composer, actor, writer, television personality, motivational speaker, and spokesman. He was a successful pop singer in the United States during the 1950s and early 1960s. Now listen to this. He sold more than 45 million records and had 38 top 40 hits and has appeared in more than 12 Hollywood films. I could go on and on. You can check his bio on Wikipedia, but I'm telling you, this guy has been around for decades. And here at the National Religious Broadcasters Association conference, they honored him by giving him this huge award last night from decades of being as a lifetime influencer here in Hollywood. So I am so excited to have him join me today here, where you're going to hear stories about his life, things he's learned as a girl dad, as a dad to 4 daughters. So listen in. I know this is going to be a conversation that you're going to glean truths from as you just get to sit and hear stories from a Hollywood icon. Of all the things I love about him, the thing I'm most excited about is that you are a friend to my husband, Ken Canfield. You guys go way back.
Yes.
And he vouches for your character, and that's what matters, right?
You know, and he got to know me quite well.
Yes, so it's
and
not...
me him.
Yes, so it's not just about your public image. It's that you're a dad who has walked his talk and continues as a dad to 4 daughters, 10 granddaughters, you told me.
Yeah.
So I want to hear from you some of the secrets of raising daughters, because you raised 4 daughters. As you look back on your life, what were some of the things that you either wish you would have known about being a dad to daughters, or you're glad you did right when it comes to being a dad to daughters?
Of course, the truth is that parenting is something is a learn as you go proposition. And all parents are going to make poor choices, and no matter how hard you try, sometimes the very fact you're trying so hard may be too much.
Yeah.
And so there's a give and take you have to learn. One of the lessons I learned, I was doing a movie called April Love, and I had to learn how to drive a sulky in a racer, because racing, trotting and pacing, and these these horses that pull buggies with a guy behind them,
Right.
with a long whip, and they're trying to is trying to propel the horse to go as fast as it can go without breaking out of its prescribed gait, G-A-I-T. That is the
that
way that he
rhythm.
runs. Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
rhythm. Because if a pacer gets going faster than it can maintain that pace, he breaks into what's called a trot, and now he's disqualified. So I was having to learn how to do this because there were scenes in which I actually, as a young guy, was learning how to ride a pacer.
Yeah.
And I'm in this cart, and even though I'm sitting in it and the cart weighs something, it's so well built that he doesn't even hardly feels it. It's got wheels and ball bearings, and
Yes.
he can just run and pace and race other horses. And my job as a driver is to get to know in my hands as he's leaning into the bit and I'm controlling the reins.
Mm-hmm.
And so he leans in so that if he gets going, if I were to let go of the reins, he would fall. He would fall because he's leaning, he's putting his weight into
Yes.
in his mouth. Into the so now I'm learning that I have to let him go as far as he can go, as fast as he can go, and maintain that pace. If he breaks into the other trot, he's disqualified. He and I are disqualified.
Yeah.
And I began to apply that to my daughters. I had 4 girls. Each was different than her sister, although alike in many ways.
And I'm one of 4 girls, so
Yeah.
I know that you dads have a lot on
Yeah.
your plate because everyone is different and they don't come with a playbook.
And so I had to learn with each girl the best I could. How far can I let her go without her falling on her face and making mistakes?
So you parented them different. You
Yeah.
fathered them different.
Yeah. I had to apply some different pressures and letting go and holding back. Now, one thing that I had imposed on all my girls, starting when they were in their, like the oldest was like 10, and they weren't dating or anything yet. But I was looking ahead as a parent, a dad of 4 girls that were only 3.5, not quite 4 years apart.
Oh, wow.
The 4 daughters.
Yeah.
Born separately, but in little less than 4 years. I should have been jailed or neutered. But anyway, 4 daughters, and poor Shirley, she's a wonderful mama. But I started thinking ahead, and I said, girls, you're going to get around to dating one of these days, and you're going to want to go out with guys. And I want you to know right now, there will be no single dating. We're living in California, Beverly Hills, Hollywood. Will be no single dating until you're 16.
My dad did the same thing.
Your friends will
Yeah.
you know, some of your liberal friends will start letting their daughters date earlier, and they did. But you're not going to go out with a guy on a single date.
And did your girls like that rule, or
They
did
didn't.
they hate
Well, they
it?
didn't care at the time
They
because they
didn't?
hadn't done
Okay.
it. Oh, okay. We don't get to drive till we're 16, and we don't get to date single date till we're 16.
Okay.
I said because if you go out with a guy and he takes you somewhere, he's got to be old enough to be driving. So you might be 14 or 15, but you're going to be with a guy that's a year or 2 older than you,
Yeah.
and that's not going to happen.
Daddy's putting down his foot on
Yeah.
this one.
Well, it didn't matter when they were, 6, 7, 8, and 9, or
Right.
8, 9, and 10. So the time came, though, when as they reached ages of 15, 16, and some of their friends their parents were letting their kids go out at 14 with 16-year-old guys.
Yeah.
And obviously getting into problems. And so when my girls got to be 15, and there was a girls' school, because I had them in a girls' school. I didn't want them in a boy-girls school until it had to happen, because I didn't want the interaction with boys more than I could oversee and handle. So they're in a girls' school, but, the girls have dances, and they invite boys.
Yeah.
And so their younger girls were inviting older guys. Well, we had a family that were friends of ours who had a young son named John, who was a couple years older than Cherry, my eldest daughter, and he thought she was really cute, and she liked him, and they were both good dancers. When just around the house and at parties they would dance. So now she wanted him to be her date. And he was 17 and she's 15. I said,
not gonna happen.
well, it can happen, but
Oh.
you're not going to get in the car and he's not going to drive. Let him come over to the house. He had an old used Corvette. And he can park here. I'll drive you to the dance. I'll pick you up when it's over and bring you home, and he can get in his Corvette and leave. Well, that's when she chafed a little. Well, look, it's his car, and we're just going.
Right.
I said, I know that. And I said, but you're at 15. You've got 3 sisters coming behind you. And if I break the rule for you, how am I going to enforce it for them? Yeah, I know, John.
And that worked?
It
that
worked.
helped
It
her
worked.
to hear that
Yes,
others were coming behind.
Yes,
She
of
needed
course,
to set an example.
The rules have to be for everybody.
Yeah.
I couldn't break them for the oldest daughter right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so, sure enough, and John understood. I mean, they weren't far enough along in their relationship that he thought he had any right to anything other than what I would permit.
So your daughters knew that you had boundaries
Yeah.
and rules.
Yeah.
And it sounds like respected them
Yeah.
because they knew you loved them.
Yes.
You
And
had
I
their
invited
back?
them to, if they were interested in guys, bring them over. We want to know them.
Yeah. Would you
Let's-
tell dads listening who have daughters, get to know the guys
Yes.
that your daughters are dating, have them come over
Don't
to the house?
take for
Because
granted.
people might say, well, Pat, you're old-fashioned.
Well,
Nobody
they'll be
does
on
it
best
that way.
behavior when they're around Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
But I always let them know wherever they were going,
Yeah.
I might drop in on them. But
Have
I
you
always,
ever done that?
Yeah.
On the date?
Yeah. There was a party or a restaurant or something.
Go,
I would
Dad.
drop in and say, how's it going, guys? And
That is so cool.
And because I was a well-known actor, it wasn't as bad as if they had no idea who I was. So it's not that they objected to my being there.
Mm-hmm.
But there were other times when, like my second daughter in college, and she's meeting a guy that is 3 years older than she. He's a senior while she's a freshman. And he was
wow.
strongly attracted to
Yeah.
Lindy, my daughter. Now, she's in college, but she hadn't dated that much single dating and never gotten in a real serious relationship with a guy. None of my daughters had in high school. They just didn't have the opportunity to get into a real serious relationship. And so this guy decides he's in love with Lindy just from what he knows at school and the times they're around in family situations. And so they decide that they're it for each other and they want to be engaged. And so they sit me down and in the dining room to talk to me about this. And he says, Lindy and I, he's a senior and she's a freshman.
Yeah.
Lindy and I think that we're it for each other. We just want you to know that. And
What'd you say?
And I said, well, that's very interesting. You haven't known each other but about 6 months, 3 months, whatever it was. I said, we're going to have to get to know you better. And Lindy's going to have to get to know you better, but it's going to be in our family context.
There you go.
Because she hasn't dated much. You have. You're a senior. You've dated a good bit, I'm sure. So you're going to have to conform. We're not going to release her to your lifestyle. You're going to have to conform to hers.
Yes.
And at that point, he said, "Oh well, look, the reason I love Lindy is because of the way you've raised her, and so I'm not going to change her, try to change her lifestyle. No, I'll conform to her lifestyle."
Isn't that
well,
something?
he did, pretty much. Though gradually, more and more, he wanted to. Can she come over and spend the afternoon at my apartment? No. No.
So you really were continuing to be an invested dad.
Yeah.
Even after your girls left home.
Well, no, they hadn't left home. They're in college, but none
they
of
were still at
none
home
of
in
them left
college.
home till they were married.
Really?
All 4 of my daughters, including
Wow.
Debbie, when her career took off.
Yes.
She never had an apartment of her own.
We're still living at home.
Living at home until I drove them to their weddings. And she had a date with Jimmy Connors, the great tennis player, while her career was in full bloom.
Yeah.
And he asked if he could take her out, and she wasn't that nuts about Jimmy Connors, but he was a big star.
Right.
So she thought, well, it'd be fun to go out. So he comes to take her out, and I said, "Now where are you going?" I knew Jimmy. Well, I thought we'd have a little bite to eat, maybe go to a movie. Well, where are you going to go eat? Well, and
So you're telling dads, keep asking questions, be nosy.
Yes.
Find out what
And
your
then
daughters
what
are doing.
movie do you think you might go see? He said, well, we might even go bowling instead. Oh, I love bowling. I said, I'm a good bowler. If you decide to bowl, let me know because I want to be there. I want to bowl with you. And when Mark Harmon was a quarterback at UCLA and he took another of my daughters out and he wanted to go jogging with her, I said, hey, I'm a jogger. I'm a jogger, man. I jogged with the quarterback of UCLA.
Wow. Okay,
And-
but Pat, you got to be honest. I don't think dads anymore are this involved.
No.
Let's use
and
that
I had
word.
4 daughters.
So if you
that-
were to speak to dads sitting, if they were lined up right now and saying, Pat, what's the secret? You've shared many of them today, many secrets of raising empowered, healthy, strong daughters.
If you're asking
What would
them
you
or
say?
me.
I'm asking you, what would
Oh.
you tell them?
Well, but you're not asking me what my 4 daughters would ask. They know what
Yes,
it was.
you're for. But you're saying some of the secrets are know what they're doing.
Communication, first of all.
Communication.
Always communication. I want to know where you are, what you're interested in. We
yeah.
talk about it at the dinner table. We said no matter what happens in your life, we can talk about it at the dinner table.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any secrets. One
Yeah.
day, Debbie, she wanted some privacy, and she was not the sharpest student at that point. She was very bright, but I think she was dyslexic, maybe. And she put a note when she was like 10 on her door, and she wanted some privacy, and she locked the door in her bedroom and put a note, Seep Watt, CEEPWOT. That was a way of spelling keep out.
Oh, got it.
Well, I knocked on the door and made her open and let me come in. And what's this? It's keep out. I just wanted to have my own alone time. I said, well, you can have your alone time,
Right.
but not with the door locked.
Okay.
You will never lock a door in this house.
Wow.
There will never be a locked door.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was
Yeah.
very great. Now, let me jump ahead. I'm on the Merv Griffin show. And Merv liked to dig into people's secrets, and what he wanted to know was me, Shirley, as parents. And now they were 16, 17, no, 15, 16, 17, 18, and we were traveling together as a family.
Yeah.
Because I brought my family in, my girls,
yeah.
into my act. We
Yeah.
became the Pat Boone
I
family.
remember that.
And so that was so I could keep them in sight at all times.
There you go. You brought him in.
And they loved it.
Take your daughter to work.
So now we're
not
on
day.
Merv Griffin show.
Like, yeah.
As the Boone family. He says, girls, you have a pretty strict dad, don't you? Oh, yes. What's he strictest about? And one of them said, respect.
Ah.
And the audience burst into applause. What? Respect? So there's no sassing or talking back
Okay.
in our house. Well, then, isn't he too possessive? Well, he's not possessive, but we have rules, but he explains them to us. We know that they're for our good.
Yeah.
He says, well, come on, girls. Don't you feel like you're missing out on something? And Sherry, the elder, said, yes, trouble.
Oh, come on.
All of our friends are get in trouble in this girls'
But
school.
not us.
Yeah.
Our dad's involved.
We see
and
the
invested.
other kids get in trouble because
That
their
is
parents
so cool.
let them do whatever they feel like doing.
Wow. Honestly, I could listen to your stories all day. I wish we had more time, but I know other
Well, I
people
could talk to you for hours.
here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, we should do this again because you have the wisdom of the decades behind you.
Well, the capper is that all 4 daughters married Christians.
Okay.
And their marriage, well, I can't say that all the marriages endured because
Yeah.
there were a couple of divorces where one of the guys said, well, if your dad had let me know his daughter sooner, I'd have known we weren't right for each other.
Right.
They were engaged for 2 years.
Wow.
But he got to know my daughter in the family
In the
context.
family.
They could have their alone time out in the
Yeah.
yard or upstairs.
Yeah.
But they were at our house.
Yeah.
She was never going to his place
Yeah.
alone. They were not going to get to
There you go.
not
So
get to
there's
know
a
each other
theme.
that way.
There's a theme in all your
Yeah,
stories of
yeah.
get to know what's going on in your kids' lives, be nosy,
Yeah.
communicate with them. And if I was to ask you one last question, if you had to give dads one go step to raise a healthy daughter, you've said a bunch of them,
Mm-hmm.
but if you had to give one, what would be the most important dad truth you could pass on?
Mm-hmm. <laughs> Well, keep on communicating. Always, when you have problems, talk to your spouse. Don't worry about it. Don't I mean, I had problems with my daughters because they, you know, Debbie was like me. She didn't like to just be one of the 4 girls. She wanted to be herself.
Yeah.
And we had some head-to-head to-dos.
Yeah.
But one time she was looking at me with this real insolent look, and there was a mirror behind her, and I said, I want you to see what I'm looking at. And I turned her around and made her look in the mirror, and she wasn't going to give me a happy smile.
No.
She was still looking with that
Frown.
sullen look.
Yeah,
I said, this is what I'm looking at when I'm talking
Okay.
to you. And it's not going to continue.
Yeah.
And so
You communicated.
yeah, communication and investigation. Know what your kids are doing,
There
who
you
they're
go.
with.
Who they're with.
Don't take anything for granted.
There you go.
It doesn't mean you're suspecting them or expecting them to do anything wrong,
Yeah.
but you're going to give them as little opportunity as possible
That
to
is
make bad
awesome.
mistakes. And just lastly, Debbie came home once from school weeping. And I said, what happened? There's something traumatic. She said, Daddy, there was a baby in a bottle at school. What? A baby in a bottle? It was a science exhibit.
Oh.
And they said it was a fetus, was the word they used.
Oh.
But Daddy, it was a baby with fingernails and little, curled up in this bottle like a pickle. And she said, but it was a baby. And she was crying. I said, girls, let's sit down. I said, I'm glad this happened because you're girls. You're all 4 girls. You're going to be dating, and one of these days there's going to be a temptation to do something that you shouldn't do because you're not married. And the result of that may be a baby. And if there is a baby, there's not going to be an abortion.
Yeah.
That baby will be born, and maybe we'll raise it as your sister.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you've seen it now with your own eyes. I was so glad it happened.
Yeah, and it sounds like there wasn't anything that you avoided talking about.
No,
you went
no.
in on all of it.
Anything went. I promised I would never dodge their questions.
Never dodged the. You know what? That would even be a great place to stop to say, Dad, you guys have all heard Pat say there. I didn't dodge any questions.
No.
I got involved in their
in the
lives,
answer
and
to
I
the
wanted to know
question.
their business.
Yeah, right.
At all times.
Yeah.
Well, Pat, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a joy to talk with you about secrets that you've learned along the way about being a great dialed-in dad. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, I didn't trust all boys because I was once one.
There you go. Thank you, Pat.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield, the Dad Whisperer, signing off. So grateful to have had Pat Boone join all of us here today, sharing words of wisdom and stories galore that I trust will encourage you, inspire you, and even equip you as a dad to maybe even course correct in this season of your life to be a dialed-in dad in a different way than you've even been before. So dads, make today a day where you continue to intentionally and consistently invest in pursuing your daughter's hearts. Go Dad.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield. To find out how you can invite Dr. Michelle for your next event, go to drmichellewatson.com and click on the speaking tab. That's drmichellewatson.com. Dr. Michelle loves bringing practical insights she gleaned over the past few decades to audiences of teenagers, young adults, men's groups, or women's forums. Once again, go to drmichellewatson.com. That's drmichellewatson.com for more information on the books, resources, and blogs that she has available. Remember, you can listen to the Dad Whisperer podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. And we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again on the next edition of the Dad Whisperer podcast with Dr. Michelle Watson Canfield.